Hello and welcome to your weekly Seaway News update. I'm Nick Seabrook.
And I'm Shauna O'Neill.
We are your weekly microburst of news, except we don't knock down any trees. You'll get that joke in a minute. So to kick things off, I have a few breaking news stories. This week there was a few hard news pieces that we were out there covering that I'd like to share with you. The first was Agape. The Agape Center reported some thefts on their property this week. They shared some recorded video footage that on Sunday, two individuals came to their property to the loading dock and took some of the donations that were left on the property, filled them up in a garbage bin, took the garbage bin and the donations away. They say that they've reported this theft to the city as they had to purchase a new garbage bin at their own cost. Also, they would like to remind people that any items left on their property as donations, they cannot be taken because that is considered theft. Once they're left on the property, they're considered the property of the Agape Center. They would also like to ask people that in future, if they want to make sure that no damage comes to their donations or if they don't want their donations stolen, it's best to drop them off during regular business hours at the loading dock. The next item I'd like to tell you about is a bit of a tragic news story that we covered this week on the other side of the St. Lawrence River. 19-year-old Aidan Thacker was out swimming with a friend near the Long Sault Dam on Monday around 4 o'clock. When he got pulled towards the dam in a sudden current, his friend escaped, but sadly Aidan could not fight the current. After an extensive search, the New York State Police recovered his body about 4 hours later. Our thoughts go out to him and his family, of course, in this tragic case, and always be careful whenever you're swimming out there, especially around large water infrastructure like our local dams. Finally, the microburst. I mentioned that a little bit at the top of the show. There was a microburst on Tuesday around noon. It lasted for about 15 minutes, but the rain was so heavy it knocked down about 50 trees, mostly in the East End around the cotton mills. Part of the bike path near Legion Park was blocked by fallen trees. In terms of damage, I saw that a few cars were hit by some trees that went down, but no dollar value has yet come out as to how much damage this microburst caused. I spoke with Scott Porter, the City of Cornwall arborist. He's in charge of all our trees in the city, and he said the cleanup is going to take a few days. I saw a downed tree just this morning on my way into work near Legion Park, and right now the focus is on cleanup, and there's no word yet on when these trees are replaced or if they will be replaced. I personally like a lot of green in my city, and I hope to see new trees planted soon.
Yeah,
so,
likewise.
Shauna, what do you have for us?
Well, Nick, earlier this week, MPP Jim MacDonald made an announcement that the City of Cornwall will be receiving $18.2 million over 10 years to assist Cornwall Transit in purchasing new buses. The money is coming from the Investing in Canada Infrastructure Program. Currently, Cornwall has 15 conventional buses and 10 paratransit buses in its fleet. The lifespan of a bus typically runs between 12 and 18 years. Mayor Bernadette Clément was with Jim MacDonald when he made the announcement, and she said that this funding is going to be great to help connect our city and provide transit for those in our city. And did you know, Nick, that there are 870,000 rides per year taken with the City of Cornwall Transit, and 35,000 of those are for persons with disabilities. That's
impressive. Given a city size of 47,000, that means we have multiple people riding the bus every single day.
Yeah. Earlier in April, Cornwall Transit also announced a new app called Way to Go. It helps riders track when their bus is coming and where it is. Also, a fixed price for bus tickets was announced. So if you wanted to ride on a conventional bus or a paratransit bus, the price would be the same.
Also, just of note that the money that the city got this week for busing will also be used to make our bus system more accessible to people with disabilities. Yes. That includes more help on buses for people, with maybe hearing or visual disabilities, and also at bus stops. Now, yesterday I spoke with Councillor Elaine MacDonald about the City of Cornwall's Waterfront plan. For over a year now, the city has been working with a consultant to develop a new plan for the city waterfront, and Elaine MacDonald, who heads the Planning Advisory Committee, heard the final draft on Monday night, and here's what she had to say about that meeting. Thank you very much, Elaine, for joining me here today.
Thanks for the invitation, Nick.
Happy to have you. And so first, can you just give me a bit of an outline of what happened at the meeting on Monday?
Okay. Well, what happened was the culmination of a year-long effort on the part of the consultants who have done lengthy studies. They've been picking up online comments. They held 2 open houses. They held a day and evening long charrette, picking up people's opinions. So what they had to do was collate everything that the population has been telling them. And so this was the night they presented it to us as councillors.
Okay, and I understand there are 77 recommendations across the whole length of the waterfront. We have a waterfront map here. It's a little upside down, but this is...
We could hold it up for people to see, because it's pretty exciting when you see the length of it.
Yes, and everything that's up for grabs. Everything in purple you said has not yet been sold by the federal government.
That's right. In fact, I think the only patch that has been sold by the federal government is the harbour. I'm trying to read this upside down, so it'll be over here somewhere. We, in conjunction with Akwesasne, bought the harbour lands, and so that's now in our hands. But this is the whole extent of the lands that are being offered someday, soon we hope, by Transport Canada. You see, until 2001, Transport Canada was keeping a lock on these lands, because when the Seaway opened, there was always this dream of maybe a Canada only, or maybe a fear that at some point we'd need to go alone. So they kept the lands, but in 2001 they decided they didn't need it anymore. And 18 years later, we're waiting for them to put the for sale sign up.
and 60 years after the Seaway opened.
Yes, but you know, when you consider, if you look at some pictures of what this was like 60 years ago, it's dramatic, the changes that we've seen. So,
and even more dramatic are the changes that are being proposed in the waterfront plan.
Oh yes,
As I said, there are 77 different items, and what are some of the ones that you've heard that you either have a personal interest in, or that you've heard from the public that they have had a particular interest in?
Okay, well, I think the one that intrigues me most is the beach in Gado Park, because that's just north of the boat launch. And well, for a while, my husband and I, we were babysitting my nephew's lab, and that was the beach that we could take the lab to. So of course we swam there too. So it is a great little beach, mind you, very rocky bottom. But I was so happy to see that's actually #1. Because prior to this, like, I'd love to see swimming facilities in Cornwall, because I often go to Long Sault Parkway. But prior to this, I thought maybe our only possibility would be to have a swimming pool somehow carved out of the canal. Like, apparently some cities like Paris apparently has this. And I thought, well, that is going to be such an expensive proposition, don't even say it out loud. But then #1 of the 77 recommendations in response to public input was that we actually create a beach out of the area north of the boat launch, and it would be wonderful.
Yeah, and so that was the first ranked suggestion based off of what Think Design, the consultants, received in terms of feedback.
And I'll tell you, the thing that really surprised me was 3 of the top 8 recommendations had to do with Gado Park.
Oh yes.
I mean, I don't think it's top of mind for most people, but certainly when people consider the whole extent of the waterfront, maybe they think it's the most neglected. But it could be too that with the new BMX park there that's been opened, people are kind of discovering it as an undeveloped potential treasure.
Right. And so the city doesn't currently own a lot of this land.
No, sadly no.
And based on that, how realistic or how soon do you think elements of this plan can be put into effect?
The overall plan, of course, it's been designed to be accomplished within 25 years, potentially. I think the total price tag is 26 million. 25 million, and for a 25-year plan. And I don't think it's like $1 million a year. It's, you know, some things we can do pretty cheaply, and some things would cost a lot of money. So, what was your question?
Well, just what's the city's approach to accomplishing the plan if it doesn't own a lot of the land?
Yeah, well, everything that the city ever does, of course, is dependent on budget and public pressure. So I'd love to say, for all those people who want to see that beach in Gado Park, I think they should put pressure on, because there's great pressure already for a campground in Gado Park. And because, I mean, Charlottenburg Park has done such a wonderful job of their campgrounds, and of course west of us there are campgrounds, but none in Cornwall. And I think that would be the greatest place to start. And I don't recall the price, but it's not all that expensive to put a beach in there and develop the campgrounds.
Now, in terms of price, you had mentioned that the total budget of the entire plan, all 77 recommendations, is around 25 million.
Yeah.
Where does that money come from, or how does the city finance these projects?
Yes, well, I think some of it may come from the federal government and of course provincial government, because as soon as we decide that something is worthy of being done, we'll look for partnerships. And the obvious place to look for partnerships would be the upper levels of government. Because when we bought the harbor lands, money actually didn't leave Cornwall and go to the government. Money came the other way. Now, mind you, that was money that they give us to restore that land. So it means that we're not in a hole digging ourselves up to the ground level, you know, like they're giving us a starting chance. So I expect that with the sale of these lands that there will be assistance coming from upper levels of government. And interestingly enough, with the discussion of the beach in Gato Park, there's a suggestion that we have a floating playground. And just like if you imagine the play area there in Lamoureux Park right now, if you were to immerse something like that in water and put a bottom under it, that would be a floating playground. And they think that that could be developed by the private sector, and that the city would have some sort of revenue from it.
Like a Venice with water slides.
Yes, but you know, I think that's a terrible idea. If we ever get a beach, it would kill me if people had to pay to swim there, or if you could swim for free up to the buoys, and then you'd have to pay to go on the water slide. So even though it's mentioned in the report, if it comes up, I can tell you I'd be talking against that part of it. Well,
that sort of gets me to my next, I think, last question is next steps for the waterfront plan is that it goes to council. Is that correct?
Well, it's yes, it will go from PAC to council, and I think at that point administration will look really closely at budget time to see, like, the pressure will be on our Parks and Recreation Department, because I think all of this property, pretty sure it's all Parks and Rec. So the pressure would be on them if there's any wiggle room in their budget at all to start something here. And you know, it's interesting, I mean, people think the pace of this might be too slow, but we've already moved past something that happened between the time the book was published, before released to us, of course, and that was the fact that we put some money into the BMX park. Like, we built a fence. So in a sense, this is a living document. And, you know, this is going to be going, it's an ongoing project.
Going to be ticking things off wherever you can.
Yes, yes. So.
Okay, excellent. Well, thank you again, Elaine, for joining me here today. Really appreciate it. So this weekend, I also have a lot of great events to tell you about, as I always do. There's one big event, of course. For those of you who live in the area a long time, you know the first weekend of August means one thing, the Glengarry Highland Games. It kicks off tonight with the annual Tartan Ball. Friday and Saturday, you are going to see the largest mass bands in North America, and you're going to have events such as piping, the annual kilt run, games like the caber toss, tug of war, and sheep toss. It's a lot of fun for the whole family. Get out there and check it out. It is a huge spectacle right in our region, in Maxville at the fairgrounds. Runs from tonight to Saturday, early morning usually, but it's a very fun time. Here in Cornwall on Saturday is Backstage Pass at the band shell from 3:30 p.m. to 11 p.m. This event is to support local artists and filmmakers. Part of the proceeds from the event will go to fund a local film production called Chai and Blaze of Fury. And a percentage of the rest of the proceeds will go to support local charities such as Beyond 21 and Habitat for Humanity. It sounds like a great cause, and someone who loves film and the production side of those types of things, I think it'll be very interesting to check out.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of great events going on.
Yeah, and there's one more I want to say and tell you about, and that is the Tubi Festival in Morrisburg. It is the 49th annual Tubi Festival, running on August 3rd and August 4th. The event includes parades, triathlon, and a beer garden, and of course the annual tube race down the St. Lawrence River. It's a 3-kilometer race down the water in a tube to crown who will be the queen or king of the river this year. And do you think they'll have some nice weather for these great events this weekend?
Yes, I think they will. There is unfortunately a chance for a thunderstorm on Saturday, but it seems that there have been a lot of thunderstorms in the region popping up or being predicted these days, so I guess we'll have to find out. ourselves. Currently, the weather is sitting at 27 degrees Thursday. Feels more like 29. Tomorrow, we're set to see a high of 28 degrees, but it'll feel more like 31. Saturday, as I mentioned, there's a 40% of chance of thunderstorms in the afternoon. It's set to feel around it's set to be 28 degrees, but feel more around 33. And Sunday is supposed to be a little bit cooler at 25 degrees.
You know, whenever they say there's a chance of rain or thunderstorms, like 40%, 60%, I always wonder if those are Vegas odds, because 40%, I take that action.
Yeah, for sure.
And that is the end of your weekly Seaway News update. Thank you so much for watching and being with us. We always love any feedback that you'd like to give, and you can leave that feedback in the comments below. Thank you very much. I'm Nick Seabrook.
And I'm Shauna O'Neill.
Have a great day.